Hi, good day to you. Those that are on already, we will actually get started here in just a minute as people are loading in. This is going to run us maybe about 25, 30 minutes. And we're going to go through some materials, make them available for you as well. Towards the end, we'll have that information. Please, if you know someone that's supposed to be on the webinar, if you want to invite someone, go ahead and do that now. And we will make sure too that we get a recording made available out to you as well. So we tried to make sure that we have enough time and materials for you so that there's some good value in this for you. Also, if someone had invited you and suggested that you attend the webinar, please do me a favor because I know we had to reschedule, but please let them know that you were on it because for a lot of people, they've been wanting us to do this type of webinar for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. And again, if you got questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat box as we go. I'm going to try to get to those questions towards the end. If for some reason you've got questions that you don't want to ask during this class, and you just want to email them to us as well, we're going to have that information for you so that you can do that. But today's webinar is really going to be on what we have called the Beneficiary Bootcamp. And for a lot of people, our clients, I've been doing this now for 33 years. My first few years, I was in the Marine Corps. And that was exciting and challenging. But I will tell you that finance is probably one of the most challenging things people ever face. And for years, our clientele have said to us, thank you for helping us with our finances, but we'd really like to see if you can help our kids. And so that's the reason for this webinar is to help you understand a few things, not for this to get too deep in technical parts, but basic ideas for you of what to expect with if your mom and dad, their finances. Not that we're going to get into their finances because a lot of parents want to keep that hush hush for a while, but your parents maybe have shared with you their finances, but also just to have a conversation with how can we help you improve your finances, because unfortunately, financial times and the way people do finances have changed. There's different models that you have of finances in there. So again, we're going to try to share some of the things with you. Now, we do these courses through an entity, a nonprofit entity called SOFA, and it's the Society of Financial Awareness. And these are not to sell you anything. This is a nonprofit that we are involved in. My daytime job, again, for the last 33 years, I'm a fiduciary financial planner, which you may want to Google that and see what that means. But a fiduciary financial planner means we have to always do what's in your best interest and educate you as to the things you should do, not just try to sell you a product. These courses are given in many, many different locations. Here are some of the locations and companies, some of the bigger name brand companies that have done them. But also let me share that if you need these kind of classes, maybe somewhere that you work, let us know. We will talk to the HR department. Again, I know sometimes they have a lot of people want to come in and try to do seminars, but these are not a seminar to sell anything. These are educational in nature, and we make sure that they know that going into it. A little bit about my background. As I stated, I spent a few years in the Marine Corps. Enjoyed it, love traveling the world, serving my country, and I brought that same focus into finances because, quite frankly, people really, really need help with their finances, and they struggle with where do they get their answers and solutions to. So everything I'm going to share with you, there's stories about people that we've had, success stories, and also some challenges. And again, we're going to make sure that you get some of these materials so that you can read those and share those later on as well. What we're going to talk about briefly is a couple of things too. Part one is going to be talking about, okay, when mom and dad pass. And that's not a subject that sometimes many people talk about, but it is it's a reality in life. I will tell you that my best friend, my father, passed away last year. It was hard, but I had been preparing for that a long time. And we had that conversation. And so we knew what would occur. And my dad also knew that I was going to be there taking care of my mom, who's still with us. And that's, he needed that reassurance, but also it was nice for us to have that healthy conversation. So we're going to talk about a couple of things as far as, who do you call when that occurs? Number two, there's a black binder that your parents should at least let you know where it is, if not go through it. And then also giving you an idea about how long does it take for that process when mom and dad passes away to get their quote unquote stuff arranged, moved, and the things that you need to do. The second part we're going to talk about is getting your financial GPS developed now. As I stated earlier, a big request from a lot of clients is, hey, can you help our kids with their finances so that they're better with them now? And when we pass, they'll be better getting our money. And let's face it, everyone has different skill sets. Some people are very good with money. Some people are not, just like with sports. And it's not anything that is bad if a person is not good with finance, but it's like anything else. You can learn it. And then it's a discipline that you either decide you're going to do it or not. So we're going to talk about, for you, we're going to talk about some of the critical legal documents, because those, as we've seen in the past, if you don't have them, can be very, very problematic for your spouse if you have one, and or your family. We're going to talk about the difference between what we call living large versus retiring large. And that's a fun one. And then also enjoying what we call your go-go years, the years when you're healthy and you can do things, because you probably know people that are even young that are maybe having health issues. And especially with COVID, we've seen a lot of people pass that we weren't planning on. So we really promote people enjoying, their years now. And then some action steps towards the end. Some what we call a discovery call, where it's a 15-minute call. Take advantage of, there's no charge for it. It's complimentary of, hey, here's why I was on the webinar and here's what I have concerns about. I just want you to know that getting a financial plan in place, it doesn't happen overnight. It is a process. And again, kind of like working out, you don't go from, just walking to doing a marathon. You practice and you work up to that. And that's the same thing with finances. But it is important that you realize that financial success, now versus later, it's something that's always changing. But as long as you're paying attention to it, like anything else, you will get somewhere with it. All right. So I will give you a warning as well. And I put this one up. Try to interject a little bit of humor when we're doing these webinars and we're talking about things. Finances, money, it's an emotional journey with some people. And a lot of people don't like to talk about this stuff because they don't understand it. I get that. And the thing I always say in our classes is, I've been doing this for 33 years. So I know this stuff. But if you ask me to fix my car, I'm not a mechanic, and it's not that I couldn't be a mechanic. It's just I haven't spent my time there. So number one, give yourself a break if you don't understand finances. Most people don't, unless they do it for a living. But if you have a basic understanding of what you want to do, that's all you really want to know out of your finances. And we try to make things very, very simple. And I use a lot of analogies and a lot of examples. Our process that we call our process is a financial GPS. And, it's like the GPS on your phone. There are people that when they're traveling, and I was traveling recently with my wife, we were in Canada, and my wife had mentioned to me that our daughter told us about this place that we just had to go to, a restaurant, that it was absolutely, we got to eat there, if you know what I mean. So, of course, I had to find it. And all I had to do was put the location of where it was in my phone. And the phone guided me and told me where to go, when to turn, how far to go. And then, voila, we ended up there. Whether or not it was that great of a restaurant, I won't share that, but it was okay. But that's the simplicity of the front of the phone. Now, the back of the phone, if you open it, that's where the complex part is. And not many people have the ability. I know I don't have the ability to open up the back of my phone and look at all those things that are in there and say, okay, I can figure all this out. No, I could if I spent my time and I'd gotten trained in it, but I don't. So with our financial GPS, we tell people, let's get you educated, which is what you're doing now with the webinar. Then we talk to people about, okay, let's preserve the money, because money isn't everything, but it helps you get the things that you want to obtain. Then we start talking about distributing the money. That's when you're using it for living and also for retiring. And that's probably what mom and dad is doing now and what we're trying to get them to. And then route adjustments. If I get off course with my GPS, it will tell me nicely, hey, turn around, you're off course, get back on course. And whoever you're working with as a financial advisor, that is one of the biggest things that they should be helping you with. Not selling you a product, but saying, look, if you want to get to a destination and you first need to figure out what that is with them, then here's how you get back on track for that destination, and keep having those meetings and those conversations, because that's really what it boils down to. Now, let's talk about the first part. Again, it's not the fun part, but when mom and or dad or both pass away, who do you call? So if you'll look for that black binder, and I'll show you a picture of it in a minute, but you can see it here as well. I'm holding it up. It's a simple black binder, and it's got one sheet on the very front of it, and it's this page. And what it says is stop. Contact Bill, and that way we can get the funds moved, because we've had some clients over the years that had their binder, but the kids got a hold of it when mom and dad passed away, and they made some big tax mistakes, because when you're moving some types of money, you've got to do it appropriately. And that's one of the reasons why we have this sheet on the very top. And if you're going to look at your parents' binder, make sure it's on there. But you call us. If you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of that, you'll see our phone number is on there, 954-598-0752. And you take and you put that away somewhere, either in a file or in your phone, save it. And the day when that occurs and you need to talk about mom and dad has passed, call us. We handle about 6 deaths per year. And it is our honor to help people and say, okay, we want to make sure this gets to your beneficiaries in the most tax efficient way possible. It's already going to be absolutely chaos for you emotionally, but we help you be able to make sure, and we don't charge for these meetings. It is our service and our honor to do it for your parents. And that's part of the reasons why they like having that binder, because they know it'll be a little bit easier on you when that occurs. Now, if you're married and or you have kids, you need to have one of these binders. So talk to us about that as well during the discovery meeting. Now, here's what the binder looks like. Again, it's not fancy, but it's functional. And it's everything in one place. The plans, the policies, passwords, because that's really important in today's world. And we update this every time we have what we call their annual review. And you need to know, where is it kept? They should be keeping it in a fireproof safe, right? But if they've got it somewhere, you need to know where it is, because it's your playbook, if you will. And again, you can see, it's not anything that sophisticated, but in here is going to be a lot of different things that you're going to need to know to take care of their affairs. It makes a difficult time a little bit easier. And in there, there's a checklist for immediate things you need to do in the first 30, 60, 90 days. The agencies, Social Security, the credit card agencies, and all that you need to contact. And it also has a document in there that says, like an instruction manual, here's what I want done with my different things. Here's where things are located. Here's the stuff maybe I've got at work. Here are some of my desires, and so on and so forth. And ask your parents. Some of your parents haven't finished completing that part of it. We give it to them and we ask them to get it done and then give us a copy. And the reason is this: sometimes when somebody passes away, the beneficiaries, the kids, know that there's a binder, but they just can't find it. So here's a really cool thing. We have everything that's in that binder, for the most part, in our records here. So again, by keeping that previous page of call, that stop sign page, call us, we can help you with this, even if you can't find a black binder, but you really need to know where that is. In the black binder, here's what's in it. Financial overview. It basically says, here's all their finances, not just the ones that we work with them on, but their bank, at work, their life insurance, their long-term care, everything. Section 2 is that peace of mind organizer that's like that instruction manual that says, okay, here's what I want done. Section 3 is that's where their bank information is, the savings account, the banks that they're bank with. Section 4 is where that's their employer sponsored plans, if they still have that, like their 401k, FRS 457. Section 5, if they have annuity contracts, that's in there. Section 6 are their investment accounts. Section 7 is going to be where their life insurance, long-term care, and those things are. Section 8 is where their property and casualty, their homeowners, and the car insurance information would be. Section 9 is going to be their estate plan, meaning the legal documents. And sometimes people will have a separate binder just for their legal documents, but you need to know where those are, especially. And then Section 10 is where you're going to have deeds for property, social security cards, wedding certificates, and all those other kinds of things that they need. And they'll usually have that in Section 10, along with the passwords for Facebook, their phone, their bank accounts, and everything else. And that's why it's critical that this information stays locked up. So a wealth of knowledge in a short period of time. Hopefully you see that that is something that, would really, you probably haven't thought about a lot of those things. Now, the next question we have from a lot of people is, all right, I know mom and dad are going to pass away, but how long does it usually take from the time that they pass away to where we've gotten this stuff done? And I'm going to tell you at a minimum, and this is if they are organized, it's about 6 to 8 months. And the reason being is because ownership changes, they have to have copies of death certificates and a bunch of other things. And again, we do this for people all the time. First thing you want to do is call us. And if you don't have that checklist of what you need, that checklist that's in the binder, by the way, it's called a survivor's checklist, that will tell you and guide you along the way. So you don't have to sit by the mailbox every day for the next 2 or 3 months wondering if you've gotten everything. And it's not something that will happen overnight, but it is something that if it is organized now, it's going to make a difficult time a lot easier. The second thing that we wanted to cover for you is, all right, how do we, and this is, again, one of the big reasons your parents have asked us for this, how do we help our kids get better with their finances? And the reality of it is, when I was growing up, things were different. I mean, we didn't have such high priced things, but also people were living a lot more conservatively than what they live now. And I mean, you can look at that and just say, well, give me an example. Look at what the cost and what certain people will do and the things that they will spend money on. You can look at something just as simple as birthday parties, right? Birthday parties years ago used to be family and friends came over, you had a cake, and maybe somebody was grilling something, to now people just really give these really large, outlandish birthday parties. And that's okay if they've got the money, but that just tells you the difference of that. Also cars. And there's a lot of other things that have just gone up so much. And so we want to help you get a little bit better and help you start developing what we call your financial GPS. So one of the first things for younger people that we talk about is the legal documents and the estate planning. And, here's a reality. This slide will tell you 63% of Americans don't even have a will or a trust or anything else. And I'll tell you, when we're doing the classes at the college, that percentage is at least 63%, if not more. And it's not just people that are regular people, but even, Michael Jackson, Robin Williams, and these are people that have kabillions of dollars, but no one advised them, or maybe they did and they just didn't want to think about it, but they had nothing on paper to say, okay, who gets my stuff? And that's what you need to have. Not only who gets your stuff, but if you're incapacitated, who's going to help take care of you and make medical decisions? So it's not that you have to have billions of dollars, because even common people don't have it. And that's a tragedy. That is the hardest thing on people. And again, it's not just when you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, you need this. You need it now. If you're an adult, 18 or older, you need to lay out what you have, even if it's not a lot, who's in charge of it. If God forbid you're in an accident and you're incapacitated. So you need to have that. And that's one of the parts of our financial GPS that we help people, and we facilitate that for them. So we make it really simple. Some of the documents that you're going to need: power of attorney. And here's what a power of attorney is. It gives someone the ability to walk into your bank or and take your money or take care of your banking or do the same with your investments or your house or anything else. So it's very, very important and it's very powerful. That's why it's called power of attorney. Then you have the healthcare power of attorney or a healthcare surrogate that says if you're not able to make medical decisions, here's somebody that you trust that will do it. Again, anyone over 18 needs to have these documents. Also, then you have what's called a last will and testament, especially if you have minor kids. That's going to say, all right, who gets my kids? So that, God forbid, there's not a battle between maybe two grandparents. You lay it out, you make the decisions for them of, no, this is who we want to have the kids. And then a revocable living trust. Almost anybody that owns real estate should have a revocable living trust. And a revocable living trust means you're still in charge of everything that's inside of that trust, but you don't want your assets to go through probate. So that's why you do a trust, and you want it to be easier and easier, because probate is a process that if somebody has to go through probate when you passed, all it does, it keeps reminding them about you passing away, and it's sadness that's brought up. It's very public, and you don't want that. So those are the parts of the financial GPS when it comes to the estate plan that we try to help people with and get that facilitated. Now, you can do several things with your estate, right? And again, I'm talking about the legal documents. You can do nothing and just put it off and hope it never happens. But, you know, and I joke around about this because I got to bring some humor in it. 10 out of 10 people die. And don't think it doesn't happen when you're young, and hopefully not. But a lot of those people that I showed you and others that you know passed away, especially with COVID, they weren't old. It just happened. So you can do nothing at all. You can try to do it yourself. And let me tell you, I've looked at a lot of documents and of people, what they've done it themselves. And a lot of them, they wouldn't hold up in court. And you want to make sure they hold up in court. You can use a local attorney. And if you're doing so, just make sure that you're using one that knows estate planning, because that's really important. Not every attorney knows that. It's a specialty. Or you can work with us, and through our partnership, we can get you the estate planning documents and all that done. We can facilitate that getting done. In most cases, a lot cheaper than what you're going to get it from a local attorney. We have a great virtual way of getting it done, and it's very seamless. So it's very quick. So let us know if that's something that you're interested in. Now, I want to pivot over to the part that is sometimes, you know, we know about our spending, but we don't really know what it means in the long run. And I call this segment living large versus retiring large, because if you're spending a lot of money now, you may end up paying for that later on. And so we want to talk about the difference between, and I use a car analogy here, driving your wealth versus growing your wealth. And, you know, especially living in South Florida, you don't see many cars here that are over 4 or 5 years old. We just don't keep them, right? What do we do with them? We put them on trucks and they go out to the Midwest and they drive them till the wheels fall off, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But we don't do that here. And that's just part of the climate that we live in. But what's happening is people are spending more and more money all the time. I'm sure, you know, you pass by different places and you see maybe apartment complexes that there's very expensive cars that are in the driveway. And so what they're doing in those cases is they're spending money, a lot of money on the car, but they don't have a house, and they're not building up equity in a house. And for some people, they think that's okay, but it's about having your wealth grow over time. So let me show you a program that we use when we talk about building wealth. And this talks about being able to really look at the cost of wealth over time. And, we've got two scenarios here. One of them is called living large and big spender, if you will. I'm just going to open that one real quick so you can see it. And here's all I want you to notice. Now, this is on a single person. We do this for also married people, of course. But all we're looking here is at a couple main components for the purpose of the limited time that we've got. Number one, you can see that he's earning about $4,500, and he's earning a decent amount of money, if you will. So $4,500 is not bad. The challenge is this: when we look at his expenses, he's spending, if you look on the left-hand side over here, $4,400 a month, because he or she just is, right? And so here's what that means. When we start looking at their pre-retirement, and you can see down here that they've got their gross salary is $4,500. Well, you've got to take taxes out of your gross salary. And that means they only have $3,700 a month, but they're living and spending $4,500 a month. So the column I want you to pay the most attention to is this one all the way on the right. Their spendable assets. Their assets are not going up, meaning they're not saving any money. And so quite frankly, I can go all the way down to the bottom, and at age 65, they have nothing saved up for retirement because they've been enjoying their wealth, the instantaneous gratification now. And that means it's going to cost them a lot later, because quite frankly, they're probably never going to be able to retire, or they'll only live on Social Security. And that's not meant for you to live on. That's meant to supplement a part of it. Now, let's look at a different scenario where, we look at it and say, all right, let's do it a little bit different. Let's retire large. And that's this scenario here. And here's what I want you to notice, that he's still making $4,500 a month. But look at the expenses. So here, instead of the expenses on the left-hand side being $4,400, expenses are $3,100. So what does that mean? That means that maybe he or she isn't driving as big of a car, or as fancy of a car, or living in as fancy of a house. They didn't buy a 5-bedroom house right away. Maybe they got a small townhouse and then went from there. It means that instead of spending close to 100% of what they're making, which is unfortunately what a lot of people are doing, he's living within his means, and he's putting money away into his retirement accounts and into his other accounts, so that when he wants to purchase a house, he can do that. So if you look at his cash flows, same guy, remember, he's making the same amount of money. I'm sorry, on the pre-retirement, same person, still making $4,500. But I want you to notice this column over here all the way on the right. It's growing. And the reason is because he's going without some of the shiny, bigger, more expensive things now, so that maybe if he's not married, when he gets married, that's expensive. When he has kids, wow, that's really expensive. If you haven't had kids, ask your parents. You are some of their biggest investments, and that's okay, because we love our children and our investments, but you need money for that. And when you retire, the difference was with the first person I showed you that was living large and impressing everybody with what they drove and everything else. Well, when they got to retirement, they had nothing. And you don't have to wait till your retirement age is 65, but look at this person. And again, they're still single, but their column at age 65 has $1.5 million in it, because they've had the discipline up front of saving money so that they've got money for retirement. And that's what we mean by when we talk about living within your means, because that's where we want people, is to say, all right, that makes sense. Now, but you've got to be able to see it, because it can sound great, but that written income report that we were talking about, here's what that does. It's a plan that you can see the numbers that are not complex, and it's going to tell you a couple of things. Number one, where are your paychecks going to come from? And paychecks are a terminology that I use that, most people love going on vacation. Well, when you're on vacation, you're not working, but your money's coming from somewhere. It's coming from the paychecks, if you will, that you're still getting, because now you're on vacation time. The idea is for you to go on permanent vacation, but you still have money that's coming in. So you need to know, where and when can I retire without running out of money. Number two, where will the money come from to pay all my bills? I need to know that, because the number one fear of Americans is retiring and running out of money. Number three, you need to know how long it's going to last. That's huge. And then number four, how are they going to grow over time? Because especially with the market upsets that you've seen, those are going to happen about every 8 years. And it's okay as long as you prepared for those. And this doesn't have to be that complex. You know, again, I said I like to share stories. This is a great story. The couple that came into us, they were in their mid-50s. And when they came to our class originally, they said, you know, we would like to retire to Portugal, but we know we can't do that for at least another 5-6 years. And I said, really? If we can do that report for you and show you that mathematically tested, you've got enough money to go live your dreams, would you do it? And this is a picture of them toasting us as they're on a plane going to Portugal, not for vacation, but they've moved there and they're having a blast. And so this is what we try to get people to. Number one, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do with your time? Because money is just a tool. We want to help you manage it better and build to where you can get like they are, and you're retiring at a decent age. Because look at them, they're having a blast. And these are real pictures. They didn't stage these. They sent them to me so that I can get jealous. The really cool thing is now I've got somewhere in Portugal to go stay when I go on vacation. But it helps you be able to say, all right, I know I need to do something so I can live my dreams, which is eventually retire. And I know it seems like a long way away, but trust me, it happens quickly. You don't want to wait too long to retire, because this is what it looks like when you wait too long. And again, I like to throw some humor in there, but the reality of it is some people do wait too long to retire. And please don't do that. Don't let your parents do that if they haven't retired yet. Let them enjoy what I call the go-go years while they're healthy enough to do it, and they can go walk the streets of Italy, do the things that they've wanted to do because they've earned that. So I want to give you a tool to help you. Number one, this is what we call our Building the Bridge to Retirement report. Get this from us. Take a screenshot of this, and you can email us at info@assetgroup.us. We'll send you this. It'll give you a good idea of one thing that you could be doing to help you get to that retirement, because you're always in a retirement mode, meaning you're building this bridge to try to get to that permanent vacation you want to be in. So take a picture of that, and you can also email me any questions that you've got. Also, action steps for you, because you invested your time in being on this webinar, and I'm hoping you got a lot out of it. Couple of things for you to do. One, set up a 15-minute what we call discovery call, where you call in and we ask you, why were you on the call? What are the concerns? What can we help you with? Or just answer some basic questions. If you've got retirement plans at work, we can answer some questions as far as what should you be doing, a Roth or not a Roth, or things like that. Number two, discuss with your parents. You were on this webinar, tell them I kept my promise, but discuss with them, Mom, Dad, what do you want this next whatever years to look like? Have that conversation. Have them show you where the binder is. And maybe if they're okay with it, go through it. Make sure they put their passwords in there and all these other things that you will need. And don't think you can be prepared for this thing and all of a sudden get it done. You want to make sure it's done before you actually need it. If you want to get your financial GPS developed, what we talked about, some of the things we talked about, including the legal, looking at accounts and stuff like that, let us know and we can talk to you about that. And then request your Building Your Bridge to Retirement report. Share this webinar with your friends. I've got to tell you, my son joined our firm a little over a year ago, and it's been great because I know that his age group is one of the ones that is challenged with finances, and I'm glad to see that he's jumping in so that he can help people of his age group as well, because this isn't something that's impossible. Please don't feel that way. And getting that report will actually help you understand that and see that a little bit better. I'm going to see if we've got any chats, any questions that are in here. So one of the questions that I see is, how do we get paid? We are a fiduciary financial planning firm. we do these calls, these webinars, and the consultations currently at no cost. If someone does need some fund management, some of the, we do social security planning, income planning, or any of those other areas, we have no idea what they need. We first have a meeting to explain and find out what they need, and then we will quote someone if there's a cost on what it will cost, and there's no obligation. You simply do it if that's something you feel you need to do. If not, we just hope that you get some great information and materials out of this. So again, you're better prepared. Again, you know, we don't want to think that much about when mom and dad pass, but they do, and that's okay. At least, you know, for me, my belief is I'm a believer. I know I'll see my dad again one day. It'll be a great reunion, but you know, it is sad because I miss him once in a while, but that part is okay as long as I've got it organized and I know what to expect. And again, your parents really wanted you to have this information for them as well. If you have any additional questions and you want to find out any more information, please call us 954-598-0752, or you at the same time can email us at info@asset group, that's ASSET group.us, and we will get you all those materials. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, please let us know, and have a great rest of your day.